Welcome back to Case Closed Anime Review, episode number 19. Yeah, I was supposed to do this yesterday, but I didn't get a chance to finish the season of yesterday, but today, yes I did. Season 19, roughly 40 episodes long, and the following season is also going to be 40 episodes long, season 20. Yep. Now, this particular season it adapts from the manga, chapters 687 to 724. Make it the first season not to skip around with chapters, though they kind of return to for this format for seasons 22 and 23, but they pretty much they go all the way through instead of just skipping all the way around or just skip over these chapters and dump them for next season. Yeah. This season started off with a filler episode. Yes, this is actually probably the first time I can think of for this series, probably in a while, where we have a season starts up with a filler episode. Oh, in case you're wondering, how many filler episodes are there for this season? Oh, now everything comes up. Yep. Yeah, before it was taking a while for the site I'm using to give me info, like when was the last time officially, because I know for a fact the last season didn't start up with one. No, I don't think so. Let's take a look and see about season, let's just say 13. I want to be sure about this because a lot of the seasons I watch generally don't have filler episodes to start them off with. So you can see, I know 14 to 17. 14 didn't start with filler episodes. Those were all canon. Let's see, 12 didn't have one, though it did end with a filler. How about starting off with a filler episode? Nope, definitely not season 11. How about 10? Even though I'm supposed to do this before this video, but I was waiting for the site to load up. Okay, here we go. First time since season 10. Yes, first time since season 10 we actually have a season that starts off with a filler episode. Yep, first time. Let's see. And this is probably the only season in the entire series where it starts off with a filler episode and it ends with filler. Yeah, first time I can think of this has happened. Now these are the episodes. Now it starts off with episode 566 and it wraps up episode 500 and I believe I think it's 605. Yep. These are the filler episodes. We have the first two are filler episodes 566, 567, 570, 577, 582, 588, 591, 594 to 596, 599, and 602 to 605. And of course, the current season I'm currently watching also starts out with a filler, a two-part filler. Let's go over these episodes. First episode is called The Partner is Santa's Son. Yep, this is by far an adorable episode. Conan is tasked by Richard Moore to babysit what appears to be a baby boy. But it's later revealed at the end of the episode this is actually a girl. Yep. And Rachel was the one to figure this one out because of the way that she sort of hugged her. That's how she figured she was a girl. And of course, they put a little cute little bow on top. She looks so adorable. The whole thing about this one was the fact that, well, this baby girl's mother was being stalked by somebody over a bird. Yes, a bird. That's what this whole thing is about. I mean, the best thing about this episode is the baby Santa son. Yeah, because this little girl loves Santa Claus, so she acts like Santa Claus by giving these people presents, basically these little birds. And the person who's the stalker turns out to be the owner of a pet shop, which turns out this pet shop actually had to close down due to bankruptcy. Yeah, and turns out that the whole thing was all under false pretenses. Of course, the guy, as far as I can tell, wasn't charged with kidnapping or false imprisonment. He was charged with something else, but definitely not with kidnapping or false imprisonment because those two do qualify as prison sentences. So yeah, he got pretty much a layer sentence, but it's just an adorable little episode and something that Rachel X basically pays the way for it. Yep. Next episode is the attention of befalling an open air bath. Yeah, this one it's just an odd one. Like, okay, we have this owner of a mortgage company get killed by a small boulder. Yeah, a rock that's roughly about this big, and it's dropping on his head. Now, here's the thing: the suspects, people who killed him, are his two daughters, his secretary, who actually was trying to marry his younger daughter, and the owner of this resort. The owner turned out to be the owner, trying to put the culprit of this thing. Why? Because he was trying to take away this particular place, this very good hot springs. Unknown exactly why he wanted to buy the hot springs, because, well, he just really wanted to buy it. Yep, and with him dead, that means that his secretary can freely marry the younger daughter, no problem. Yeah, as for revealing that it was the owner of the resort who was the culprit, this actually was a really big surprise. I kind of was suspecting him because, well, who better to kill him than, well, it would probably make more sense for this guy to kill him than either of his daughters or his own secretary. Why? Because he knows the place really well. And plus, he claimed he was fishing for octopus. Yep. Next, we start off with and then we have a two-parter, which is actually part of the Metropolitan Police love story. And this is actually the first one that actually does not involve Takahiro Saito. It's all about the Inspector Sodori, and him meeting, well, having an encounter with, well, later on encounter with Detective Boy, the Junior Detective League's, the Junior Detective League's beautiful, smoking hot teacher. Yeah. He's head over heels for, of course, he suspects this other one. The thing starts out when they go see Gamera, basically it's not exactly the movie Gamera from real life. But yes, there was a movie franchise called Gamera, produced in Japan, though it was not and people think of Monster Movie Studio from Japan, people think of Toho and Godzilla. Technically, Toho has made Gamera. They made the very well-received Gamera trilogy from 1990s. They made that. Yeah, the Gamera from this particular franchise, from Case Closed, is similar to that, and he's actually sort of different. He's basically a hybrid of both the known Gamera and Godzilla. That essentially put what this was. They first introduced Gamera in an episode where it involved a stuntman who actually was the person who actually did commit a crime, killing a producer who actually didn't want anything to do with the franchise. He wanted to end it. They kept claiming, oh yeah, series going to end, but nope. And Todoroki basically decided to take a day off and he wanted to go see different movies, but somehow he picked Gamera. Okay. And he sits in the movie theater just in the row ahead of the Junior Detective League. And just like the last time that these people went to the movie theater, you have George, you have Mitch, you have Conan in the fourth seat, and either side of him is both Amy and Anita, and both of whom are holding his hand. Last time these people were in the theater, these two girls basically fell asleep on his shoulders. I thought this was so adorable, but yeah. The thing when it comes to Conan and Amy is that it has been teased these two are a couple the whole series. Yeah, this tease that Amy might be Conan's girlfriend, even though that Conan is not in love with Amy. I mean, he does respect Amy. He really does respect her, and he does respect her feelings. He doesn't want to say he's not. He doesn't feel the same way about her, even though he really doesn't. He just basically continues to want to be her friend. Yeah. But of course, they decided to do the whole hand-holding thing at the scene where Gamera got his guts ripped out. Yep. And by the way, that actually has happened in one of the Gamera movies where Gamera basically had to spit blood. Yeah, and one of the most oddest films I have only seen the first. I have the Gamera trilogy, the one made by Toho. I have those three films. I've only seen the first and third one because of Genos. The sort of monster terror. Basically, Genos was Gamera's version of Rodan, but evil. Yeah. I might review the Gamera trilogy at a later date in my reviews. Yep, so... And of course, Todoroki is revealed to have been taking sleeping pills, so he fell asleep during the movie. Yeah, in case you're wondering, this is nothing unusual for people to do. Some people do actually fall asleep movies because they're either bored or actually just tired. Or they just don't care about the movie, so they just fall straight asleep. I actually have had a couple people I went to movie theater with who actually fell asleep during the movie. Me, I've never actually fallen asleep during a movie. Yeah, many movies I've seen, I've never fallen asleep at any point. Because I'm usually drinking a lot of soda during when I go to the movie theater or eat popcorn. So yeah, I'm never falling asleep during movie theaters. So, though in the case of Roki, there actually is a reason why I fell asleep. Because the person next to him, who was actually implied to be this girl of destiny, very similar resemblance to her, yeah, turns out she gave him sleep pills and a soda. And had this sort of like this paper feather, this paper flower bracelet wrapped around it. And Amy basically made up her own for Todoroki. And yeah, it turns out she was the one who killed her boyfriend. Yeah, she killed him, and the only reason why he didn't suspect her at first because she's because of her good looks, and plus he suspects this woman might be his girl of destiny, and nope, it's not her. She's just a murderer. And of course, then we have their smoking hot teacher shows up. It's like taking home, but Todoroki's like takes him in his car with the teacher. Now in the back seat you have Conan, George, Mitch, and Anita. And they're thinking, okay, where's Amy gonna sit? On her teacher's lap. Why not? It's a very adorable scene. Because Amy's just an adorable little girl. Yep. Simiko, yeah. Of course, they do bring her back. There's a follow-up to this a little bit later. Now, I'm going to talk about that right now. There actually is a follow-up to this. Believe it or not, roughly, because this happened with episode 69, there's a follow-up with this actually happening at episode number 83. Yes. Roughly about 14 episodes after this. But there's a follow-up that I should talk about. Like, there's like one brief encounter between this episode and another episode involving him warning her or something. Yeah. But I'll get to that. I should probably talk about that one because that is going to follow up this one. And it's something, though, that's in the same season. The Love of Kabakushi Sensei, where we're at a fireworks show, and, well, their teacher witnesses a murder. Yeah, this is by far the second time she's come across a dead body in the series. Yep. So, of course, Conan comes by, and the only reason why they suspect that, well, the three suspects think it's a teacher because Conan mentioned it. Yep. And here's the kind of thing. When she's brought to the police station, everybody thinks she's Saito. Heck, Yumi comes up and actually sort of gives her a spank, like a little pat on the butt to sort of wake up because she has a yelp noise. And of course, Todoroki comes and corrects like, okay, this is not Saito. This is Tien Elementary's home. Tien Elementary School, Class 1A, homeroom teacher, Simiko Kabakushi Sensei. Yeah, I gotta admit, that was actually a really cool moment. Yeah, because he's probably the only person at PlayStation. Now, in case you're wondering, despite the fact she has direct resemblance to Saito, they don't actually meet until like the part 3 of this story, which actually wraps up halfway through. Yeah, and of course, Saito kind of figures out possibly that he might be a replacement for Saito. Yeah, but it turns out, yeah, it was a complete misunderstanding. It's wrapped up at the end when he's asked about the whole past, about sending out a bunch of potential thieves, well, shoplifters. And of course, she finally remembers at the end when he's quoting the law. That's when she finally remembers that, hey, you're the boy, you're from the boy with the bookstore. Yeah, and of course they become a couple, and then she makes him a bento. A bento is basically a homemade lunch in Japan. In case you're wondering, I had never seen these in person. I've only seen these in anime. I know these things exist. I've seen these in a handful of series, not many. I've seen this series. I've seen Gintama. In One Piece. Pretty much a good majority of the series I have watched have had bentos. The only series I can think of did not have these was Children of the Avengers, because when you have time to make freaking bentos, yeah, not that I can think of. Not even in part, not even Diamonds Unbreakable, they have freaking bentos. hmm Yeah, it's basically their meal, but I'm like, don't they have a drink in there too? Or do they have like, of course they do drink green tea separately, or they probably buy it like a fountain drink or whatever. Yeah. hmm Yep. Though it's eventually wrapped up, but it does lead to something cool with the Kaito Kid. Val gets at it, but I'll talk about the other episodes before I talk about the Kaito Kid. Next up is the crime is zero possibly proven, and this basically involves like this woman's brother-in-law got killed in her house, and the thing is, she convinces him to sort of kill himself, though she's later implicated in the murder because of that. She thinks that he was the one who drove her sister to suicide. Yeah, it turns out nope, it was completely untrue. One of several times in the series where the whole murder is based upon a misunderstanding. Yep. And how does this guy die? Well, first, he gets drunk some booze, despite the fact he's tried to remain sober. He also eats some delicious food, and he somehow gets a shotgun and actually fires a frickin' chandelier and crashes right on his head. And yes, this probably wouldn't normally kill somebody. This is probably for the second time in the series we have a death by chandelier. The last time was the 2-hour episode that introduced Anita, when the episode Contact with a Black Organization. That was the first time in the series I could think of we had death by chandelier. That wasn't a canon episode. This is a filler episode. So in the anime, this has only happened twice. In the manga, this has happened roughly once, as far as I can tell. Yep. Roughly once. Yeah. Then we have Treasure Battle in the Haunted Warehouse. This one was kind of interesting. Yep. Yeah, and the fact this warehouse was designed by the Master Traps, Kisuken Kenchman. Yeah. They've encountered this guy once before in the series, and he was the guy who owns the warehouse was asked, "What was this place built by the Master Traps?" Yes, it was. Yep, and it turns out the treasure they've been seeing, yeah, it turns out it's actually another floor in this place. Despite the fact this warehouse looks clearly empty, it's by far one of the treasure episodes of the series, but this is actually by far one of the most interesting ones. And how they activate is quite interesting. Using an old-fashioned calculator, basically involving beads, push up to a certain point, and that brings in the ceiling, and of course they use a ladder. Of course they have the detective come by, who, by the way, is from who's usually works arson, but because this involves Master Traps, he's interested. I'm sure he's a fan of the Master Traps. Yep. So yeah, he eventually they get on board and they actually find an actual burglar. Yep, an actual burglar who actually has been using the place to hide, and he find a whole boatload of stuff in there, like following various robberies that he recognizes, and some stuff that he's never seen before. But it's by far one of the more interesting cases of the whole entire series. And also one of the rare times doesn't involve a freaking murder. Nope, it does not. Yep. Then we have Alibi the Black Dress. This one was kind of interesting, because basically involves, well, Conan, Richard, and Rachel, along with Serena, going to the cafe, and they come across a woman dressed in having a goth look. Apparently it's a popular trend. Now, in case you wonder, the whole thing with the whole trend thing, they say it was not recent. Yeah, the whole goth trend's been going on for years. I say it's probably back to the 80s. I mean, I like people dressed in goth. I have no problem with it at all. I like it. I really do. And this girl actually bought a twinsy dress for her friend, who turned out to be the one who killed her. Yeah, she's found, of all places, a bathroom. One of the few times in this series where a death actually happens in a public bathroom. Yes, one of several times actually this has happened. At this point, it's probably been a while in this series. There's been one. But yeah, and also one of 2 times in this series where people's view of friendship basically is called as complete bullcrap, because that's what actual friendship is. Like, first time was over money. This one was because of something else, and Serena was the one who called her out on this because the first time was Rachel. Yeah. But yeah, it was but it's quite an interesting little episode, little two-parter. But yeah, fireflies that light up the truth. Yeah. This was just an okay episode involving fireflies, of course, sibling that. Yep. Then we have Calling of the Red Omen Crisis. I don't remember this episode. I'm going to skip over it. Actually, no. I'm not going to skip over it. Oh, yeah. Bank robbery. Yeah. The thing about this episode was that it's actually set up for us, like, the next few episodes. Yeah, it doesn't wrap up until episode, like, 81. Yeah, it's the first of a 4-parter. Well, 4 loosely connected episodes. Yeah, the Junior Detective League is investigating these possible connections of murders and the bank robbery they had previously. And they go to this store, and then, of course, they had to solve this red t-shirt thing. Mm-hmm. Actually, the first one basically is involving like a guy they spent some time with him, and apparently he's a big soccer fan, and he apparently wants to commit suicide just so he can basically donate, so he can sell his parts to. He could basically give like a life insurance to his granddaughter who's about to go for surgery, very expensive surgery, mind you, in our country. Yep. So Conan and Junior Detective League basically easily find out about this next code of detective reasoning and basically stop him. Of course, the end of the episode sets up the next 3 episodes. Yep. Involving a bomber guy. Also investigating who's sending him these frickin' red t-shirts. Turns out it was actually an employee of the store. And the thing is, she sends them at the same date for 13 weeks. Though, 2 shirts a week. 1 week she actually sent 1. And this all involved the bomber guy who's actually the axe bomber. Of course, they think this guy isn't the bomber, but it turns out he actually is. Yeah, all over basically the death of her father, who he killed and buried in the mountains. Yep. And the whole thing with the bomb threat turns out was actually bogus. Yeah, these bombs, these red bags, turns out just smoke machines. Yep. And of course, the guy who actually is Aki, posing as a grad student, using his deck reasoning for additional information, but it's a quite interesting little 4-parter. Though, I should point out, though, Jodie shows up in here, and she does nothing. Yes, this is my complaint about her. Like, since the Clash of Red and Black, she has virtually done not that much in the series. I mean, her only contribution prior to this was helping the Junior Detective League out of a jam with the bank robbery. Because it seems as though the writer just doesn't want to use her at all in proper stories. Like, she just virtually just shows up, does nothing, and complains that she can't get involved in a case. For, like, no reason at all. I'm like, okay, you have her in the series, and you have her do nothing. Not even Adrian Carmel does anything. And also, her boss, James Black, this is his second to last appearance in the series. I think he appears like 1 other time after this, and that's it for the character. Yeah, Jodie still frequently appears, though in case this one's at least the possible debut of Bourbon. Then we have Night of the Zombie Died. Yeah, it's all about like a zombie. It's not really memorable. Alright, talk about that. Now we talk about the Kaito Kid returning. Yep. It's taking up 3.5 episodes. Yep. Actually, 2.5. And this is all involving this amber horn kept in his pillar and having these 4 other pillars surround it. He does take it, but he doesn't keep with him. Of course, this is probably the first time he doesn't successfully get away, because the last time we see him at the end of the episode, he's still running away from the police. All because Conan basically decided to put a note in his bag. Of course, that was payback for knocking him out in the story. Yeah, he got knocked out via a stun gun. Yes, a stun gun knocked him out. Yep. And then pretty much like, yeah, and in terms of the whole thing of this pillar opening actually was done by the kids being pushed, have these pillars being pushed. Now, these pillars also had these little stands, also like keys, which had this special like glow in the dark paint on them. Yep. Of course, the Cow Kid doesn't steal the thing, but they do still chase him in the episode, though he does come back. As for what happens to him, completely unknown, because it leaves up in the air. Yep. This one that we have, Trap of the Rooftop Farm. Yep. This one involves them being invited by a friend of theirs to help out, like on vacation, help out with his farm. Yeah, and of course there's this annoying old man who keeps interrupting stuff, who keeps like ruining stuff. Now, is it the person who actually invited him who actually killed this guy? Nope, it was one of the other people who was suspected of killing him. Yeah, all because he basically because he ruined her garden because she thought with weed killer thought these plants were weeds, so he just killed them and he was laughing about it. Yeah, I would have basically done something else of killing him, but yeah, that's the reason why she killed him. This, of course, was the filler episode. And of course, you have the worst birthday. Yep. And all over Ari's birthday. Rachel's mother, her beautiful mother, and yet Richard Moore would rather chase women who are 10 years younger than him than basically be with his smoking hot wife. Doesn't make any sense to anybody? Nope. And they're still married. They're both 38 years old, and they're still legally married, but they live separately. I'm like, Richard Moore, you have a beautiful wife who gave you a daughter, and you rather chase women around your daughter's age. Seriously, what is your problem? Or at least women who are 10 years younger than him, like in the case of Yoniko, first chasing her, then instead of chasing his own wife. Yep. And it's all involved a client of hers being killed, and was suspected was this person who was stalking her, though there was the negotiation involving him, and of course, yeah, it turns out it was actually her husband who killed her, over the fact that the only reason why she married him was for his money. And he was a collector of mini cars. He loves his cars. But he basically killed her and then stuffed her in the bed. Like, how can you move this heavy bed? Simple. Put the bed inside of a car that was owned by the late James Dean. Yeah, and then of course he confessed, and that's what they find out. Yep. Of course they decided, and of course how Ari discovers this is after she's had a shower, after she sort of got splashed herself via soda, and of course we have Yaitama shows up. It's like mentioned, like goes to of course strip her naked, and he's like, actually it's not Yaitama, it's the one who's basically brother, who's basically more arrogant than he is. Who's the I don't remember the detective? He doesn't appear that much. It is. I think it's Sonic. I think that's how you pronounce this guy's name. Yeah, he's only like that's sexual harassment. Like, no, it's fine. She's my wife. Like, oh, you're the real Mrs. Kudo, Mrs. Moore. It's like, what do you mean real Mrs. Moore? Well, because he's with younger women. No, I thought that was so funny. And of course, she just happened to get dressed afterwards. So, yeah, it's perfectly acceptable the fact he can see her butt naked. Because, well, he has seen her butt naked many times over the years, and in fact, that's how he got Rachel. Yep. But, yeah. And he gave her a present. No, he gave her the wrong one. He gave her prayer beads. It was supposed to be a different present. It was supposed to go to a different temp. Yeah. He gave her the wrong present. But this is never resolved, and it's never brought up again. That's one thing I think about the series. It brings stuff up, and they never do follow up with it. House of the Aquarium, actually quite interesting little episode. I actually watched this in a. I actually watched this episode in a sort of a fast food type of place that sells Philly cheesesteaks. That's why I watched this particular episode. Yeah, I was at the Wiregrass Mall this past weekend. That's a mall where I live, so I went there and just happened to stop at this place for lunch, and I decided to watch some case closed. hmm So I decided to put this episode on. It's quite an interesting little episode. Yeah, this house with these little tanks, various parts of the globe, and yeah, it turns out these and the person who and this owner of the place gets killed, and it was the assistant because he refused to take credit, like allow him to take credit for his other works. Yep, and stuffed him in a tank that kind of put off his killing him. Apparently, he went to Guam. Okay, now here's the thing about going to Guam. Yeah, for a plane flight, that's not exactly very far from Japan. If you went from Japan to Cuba, that's a freaking long flight. Guam is not very far, but it's kind of far, but not that far for a plane flight. Get them on Thursday, get back on a Sunday. Yep. But it's actually quite a good educational episode involving like various places involving fish. But if you're into educational episodes, this one's for you because that's basically what this episode is the educational piece. And we have a two-part known as Story of Monkeys and Rakes. This one involves a guy who basically attacks someone at a rooster festival. And in case you're wondering, is this a canon episode? Yes, it is. Yeah, it's a quick little two. Actually, no, it's a filler. Actually, no, it actually is canon. The Bruce one's filler. Yeah, this all involves like a monkey. Yeah, and Richard Moore is actually quite useful in this two-parter. A lot of the time, he's a buffling buffoon, and he is terrible as a detective. But here, he's actually quite useful because he's quite smart when it comes to stuff like this. Aside from having... Usually, he has a few things on his mind. Alcohol, women, particularly very young, or horse racing. That's the only thing he has on his mind a lot of the time, not detective work. He prefers to basically chase women, drink alcohol, play mahjong, or horse racing than actually do actual work. Because he's that lazy. But this was actually quite interesting, and it turns out that with the guy who was stabbed, turns out he was the rooster guy, and the guy who they thought on the third day was him was actually, yeah, it turns out he stabbed him because he found out about him embezzling from his own company. Yep, it was an interesting little two-parter, and it revealed some stuff about Rachel that kind of basically hurt her character a bit, but she was fixed by the very end. Yeah, personality-wise. But it was a very good two-parter. Next up, we have The Seven Wonders of Hiroshima and Majima. Yeah, one of the several, another educational two-parter. Yeah, involving Hiroshima. In case you're wondering, no, I've never been there, but I've read about this place. Okay, now, those of you familiar with what happened with this particular city in World War II, where it was basically had an atomic bomb dropped on it. From what I've heard from one person, the city has been rebuilt since then, and they built a memorial of people who actually died when Hiroshima was destroyed. And it was rumored to have been about 500,000 people who actually got killed when an atomic bomb got dropped on Hiroshima. And there's a memorial there. They actually briefly see the memorial in the episode, but nothing much is to it. But yeah, it's a very good educational two-parter, one of many in the series. I mean, why the heck not? I mean, it's a series for kids, so why not have an educational two-parter? Yep. Yeah, it also involves like a couple murders that happened. Yeah, well, potential murders, and it turns out it was the guy who actually was having a stomachache. He was the one that did it because he faked his stomachache, and it was also involving a guy who disappeared. And of course, he also was kind of directly involved with killing this guy's parents. Yep, the guy got arrested at the very end of this two-parter. Yep, the alibi that fell. Yeah, this one involves a publication company, and apparently these people also make the Mass Yaiba series. And it turns out that the guy who got killed was the president of the company, and he was killed by the guy who actually called Richard Moore there. Why? Money. And the fact that he rather do other things than what he wanted to do. And he killed him in a very ingenious way. Like, first he basically convinced everybody he was actually in his office, but he was actually on the floor underneath him. And he put like a little balloon blow up thing, which was actually from the Masiaba series, under his window, because it was also raining. And eventually they would convict him via a pen that they found. Yeah, it's a good little standalone episode, but it's basically just a little backstory about Masiaba. Ooh, yes. 597, 598. This one I was looking forward to because how funny it was in the manga. Yep, you have the Junior Detective League and Gasa going to a hot springs. First time they've actually done this. Well, though they actually have a reason to go in there. Because Agasa was invited to fix something he actually invented because it broke, so he basically borrowed place parts for it. Not a bad idea. Of course, he gets paid for it anyways. Yep, so they go to the hot springs. They go there pretty early. And, of course, there's this pervy producer who really wants to sleep with the smoking hot actress who actually was in the first Masiaba series. Which, yeah. And apparently her manager is very protective of her. It's implied he might be in love with her, but it's never delved upon. But I can tell he possibly may be in love with her because he very deeply cares about her. And, yeah. Though it's the second time in the series that a guy basically is meant to give up something, even though it's completely untrue. Yeah, though another time in canon episode this has happened. And here's the funny one. Okay, so they switch out. Okay, the smaller thing in the previous day was for the guys, and the big one upstairs was the girls. The next day, the little one was for the women, the big one was for the guys. So the guys go up there, and the girls go in the thing, and of course they walk in there, butt naked. They scream and see this dead body, and then Conan runs in, and of course Amy screams again because, well, Conan sort of peeped on him, and of course they get funny about this, and Conan is completely clueless exactly what Mitch and George are talking about. Where you see is like, what? What are you talking about? And of course you have Amy and Anita basically blushing, and of course their heads go freaking big. Of course it's an anime. Of course it's also in manga. You see it's like, oh, you saw a dead body. It's like, okay. It's revealed later Conan only saw their butts. Yeah, he told Anita later, oh, you wondered about low trust? Like, oh, you wondered what I saw earlier? I only saw your butt. And of course, that causes the blush. And then he says something that really irritates her. That causes her to snap and do something quite hilarious. Yeah, because he mentions that for his perspective, like, okay, you see a child naked. No, it isn't. That's really stupid reasoning, Conan. Yeah. The thing is, only a parent can see these child naked when they're bathing. Yeah, seeing a complete stranger or child naked, that's uncomfortable and kind of gross. I'm not sure why Conan said that for. Even the manga made no sense for him to say this. And what was Nia's revenge? Putting a chili pepper in his underwear. So he had to show up his rear end. And of course, when Amy saw it, she blushed. I guess she's like, yay, I got a chance to see Conan's butt. Of course, that's probably what she's thinking. Because she's got a crush on him, even though he's actually 17. He's actually 16, and she's only 6. Yeah. But this is by far so hilarious. And the episode I was looking forward to seeing because I love the hilarious reaction of Amy and Anita basically reacting to Conan peeping on them. Though we didn't really see anything except their butt. Yeah. And of course, Anita stopped George and Mitch from coming in. Of course, she had put a towel on herself. Yeah. Yeah, she acts very mature for a woman who's even though she's supposed to be 18, and she acts like she's 8. She's supposed to be 8, but she's actually 18. But it's a great little two-parter. Then we have the Friend of Justice. Yeah, him trying to kill various embezzlers. Well, actually, people who are various con men. Yeah, an old man, his old Friend of Justice thing. Well, he schemed his wife out of money, and apparently his wife actually wanted to forgive him. Yeah. And I think he was arrested for attempted conspiracy to commit murder, and, murder anyways, because he killed these people with a cane. Very powerful cane. Yep. Then we have 606, which actually the last ones actually is a canon episode, because all the rest are filler. We have Dream of the Kappa. Yeah. Yamara shows up in this episode. Yeah, involving a murder of an old man who actually is the father of a little boy who died 11 years prior. And of course, they don't really resolve like who invited them to this particular place. Like, they say they're invited to this particular inn by a woman. Did they meet this woman? Nope, they never do. It's like, okay, you have a character who invites Richard Moore to a place and you don't show who it is and you don't reveal who it is. Yeah, it's like this plot point it's dropped like partway through and it's never brought up again. Nope, it never is. Yep. And the guy was killed because apparently he was disrespecting his late son's grave, though he did put it back together later. And he was thinking it was killing him to cover up the fact he knew in fact was the Kappa. Turns out he didn't know about him being the Kappa until after the kid died by drowning and doing this stunt while in the rain. Yeah, he got killed and of course he got killed by his son's teacher. Interesting little two-parter. Of course, they had this thing where Rachel saw like a figure in the dark, and it turns out to be, well, the photographer who was suffering from a cold thinks that was the cop, but nope, it was him. Yeah, interesting two-parter. And then we have the next 4 episodes being filler. Well, first we have a thing involving tennis. Yep, a tennis player who gets poisoned, and the person who commits it is the guy with the guy with a broken leg. Why? Because he purposely tripped him and took his spot in the tournament. I'm like, that's the reason why you tried to kill him? Because of something petty as that? Yep, that's the reason why I tried to kill him. And of course, Serena, for the first time in this series, actually suspected murder. Yep. And then we have the locker room mystery. I actually kind of fell asleep during the first part when they had this seance. Yeah, and of course they have 2 murders. Now, they revealed this particular 3-parter that this thing is hosted by a manga writer. Yes, the first time in the series I could think of where you have a manga writer in anime. Now, this is one of the few series I've seen this in where you have a series, a long-running series, and you throw in a manga writer in the series. The only series I can think of that have done this, the first one I could think of was JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. That was the first one I could think of with Diamonds Breakable. But the manga art's actually very popular, get his own spin-off one-shots. This is by far the second one I've seen that this has happened. And he basically is a writer of a series about a woman who dies, is brought back as a witch, and possibly involving and of course it was a mystery of who killed this particular actress, who was supposed to take the movie adaptation role of his manga. Yeah, it turns out it was actually one of the people actually was killed. Well, going to be killed anyways. The woman who was killed actually was not at the party. It was actually the woman who they described as boring. Yeah, and apparently she speaks very softly. But it's a good horror episode, and a really good way to end the season. Yeah, the whole thing about possibly come back. Nope, that turns out true. And the reason this one was cast is because she's very good cosplaying as well the character. And believe it or not, her name is actually the same name as the character from this manga. Unknown, they say it's still publishing. That Rachel says that her classmates read it, and the writer is very happy for that. But it's not mentioned if she reads it. Yeah. But it's interesting, though, we have second season where we end with a filler episode, though it's a filler three-parter. But this is by far the first season since season 10 to have a filler episode start the season. But also, as far as I can tell, the first season that I can think of, I don't remember because it's been a while since I watched the first 9 seasons, that you have a filler to start the season and a filler to end the season. First time I can think of this has happened. Yep. So yeah, not much else to say about this. Pretty good season. Yep, so that's it for this particular review. I know this was quite long, almost 45 minutes. Yeah, some of you wonder why these videos are freaking long. Because there's a lot of stuff that happens in these seasons, and I just like talking about them. I have roughly 3 more videos coming today. One is going to be a review of the new chapter of the manga. I'm going to review the manga for Case Closed in a series of specials until I get the series cut up. I'm also going to review the newest episode of Attack on Titan and a comic corner, which I'm going to do next. Okay? But to see you next review. Bye.